Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Really excited for day 2 of our 10-day challenge here. So the title of this challenge is Living the Buddha Way in a Time of Crisis. So we should probably start talking a little bit about what that Buddha way is. So we're going to do the Buddha story in two parts. We're going to focus first on his why. Kind of continuing on the theme from yesterday, we're going to pick up with what motivated the Buddha, what got him out onto the spiritual quest. And tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about what he learned and thinking about how that can get incorporated into our focus on our healthy habits and our service to others today. So just a real quick reminder, in case you didn't get a chance to do it yesterday, please introduce yourself to your cohort. You probably saw some of your other group members chiming in yesterday. Please do the same. Just get a little bit of a sense of what your 3 goals, your daily activities, your healthy activities are going to be. Share your gratitude list, and then a little bit about why you decided this would be a good time for you to commit yourself to making yourself healthier and other people a little bit happier. So, we get the story of the Buddha a little wrong here in the West. We get it right in the outlines, but we miss a very key detail that I'll get to in a second. So many of you are probably familiar with the story of Siddhartha of Gautama. He was a prince. His father was a regional king in India about 500 BCE, so about 500 years before the time of Christ. And his father was, not the king of India, not a minor king, kind of just like one of many regional kings. And his father had great aspirations for Siddhartha. He really wanted him to become this very powerful ruler. He had visions of his son's grandeur. And so he built this really beautiful palace around his son. And Siddhartha grew up wanting for nothing. He had multiple wives. By the time he was a teenager, he was fat on wine and cake, had this very hedonistic, imagine winning Powerball and having all of your desires met from day one. And that was his existence. His father created this palace a bit like a prison, though. Siddhartha was really never left the confines of this perfect little palace. And sometime in his early 20s, as young men do, he decided to kind of buck his father's authority a little bit, and he wandered out into the marketplace. And here Siddhartha saw sickness, aging, old age, and death. And this suffering was really a wake-up call for the Buddha. And I think this is here where we get the story a little bit wrong in the United States when we talk about this. Yes, the Buddha had this profound realization, oh my goodness, this pampered, amazing luxury of life of mine, this is, I too am subject to aging, old age, sickness, and death, and this could happen to me. And that's absolutely true. There was some of that existential kind of dread that popped in. But equally, and possibly really more importantly to the Buddha story, is he was motivated by the suffering of others. Right? He saw a woman giving birth. He saw how painful childbirth was. He saw an old person. He saw the frailty of old age and the suffering that went along with it. He saw hunger. He saw poverty, and he wanted to do something to alleviate the suffering of others, as much as to answer this question for himself of what does my life mean if all of us ultimately end up succumbing to old age and dying one day. So his question was not just selfish and existential. That was part of it, but it was equally, if not more so, motivated by how do I alleviate the suffering of others. So tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about the Buddha's enlightenment experience and what he learned and how that's going to be helpful for us. But I want us to come away with a very important lesson from this story. As we talk about kindness and being of service to others here, we have to have a little bit of an awakening ourselves, kind of like the Buddha. We have to go out into the marketplace and come in contact with those who are suffering. So the good news for us right now is there's a lot of people suffering. I've got a handful of friends who are already out of work because of this recession. We got a lot of people who are really struggling with the isolation that comes with being in quarantine. So your charge for today, your assignment, is our first of our kindness activities. And this is one, it's going to be a little bit more of choose your own adventure. We're going to find some creative ways to get to be of service to others. But today is a very specific example, a specific task. I'd like you to come in contact and really understand and hear the suffering of somebody else. So maybe you know somebody who is in quarantine and they're isolating and alone. Maybe you know somebody who's lost a family member or a friend recently and is not able to have a funeral because we can't gather and grieve around those things in the same way. Maybe you know somebody who's recently out of work and is experiencing the fear. And what I'd really like you to do today is reach out to that person and just be an ear for them. Check in, ask how they're doing, inquire, hear, be present, have the kind of service that can be just a listening ear during a time of need. So that's our task for today. I'm going to go ahead and put my three things that I'm grateful for and give you a little update on how I did with my three healthy activities in the email. But looking forward to being in touch with all of you. Have a happy Saturday. Good luck today, guys.